On today's episode, we're doing something a little different. We won't be speaking with a widow or a widower. Instead, our special guest is a mother who's opening up about the loss of her beloved 15-year-old daughter. Her strength and her story are truly inspiring. It's going to blow your mind, you guys. Let's go. This is Every Widow Thing. I'm excited for everyone who's listening to today's episode because I have wanted this particular person on since we started because her grief journey is so inspiring. Who would have thought in 1997, I think it was, when we met teaching school, that 20 years later, we would both be on this incredible spiritual grief journey. So
Mind
the
blowing.
guest today, her name is Stephanie. We were teaching together and then we lost touch. And then a year before Hunter died, we reconnected on Facebook. And I started to learn of Stephanie's journey. She lost her daughter, Kobi, suddenly in a horrific accident when she was 15. And I had no idea that watching Stephanie through her grief, that I would then draw on it in my own grief. It's crazy how life puts people in your life exactly in the moments that you need them. So I'm so excited for my friend Stephanie to be here to share her story and all of her wisdom. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you.
I'm so
We'll see
excited.
how much wisdom, just experience. Kobe was my best friend, our only daughter. We have a son and a daughter. She was an artist. She could turn anything into art. Loved to save crafts and all those sorts of things. She was a photographer. She was tech savvy before her time. And thank God, because I found videos of her remaking little songs, singing before.
Like parodies.
Wow. Yeah.
Song.
Before, I didn't even know she was doing that. She was a baker. She wanted to make macaroons one day and she just found a recipe on the internet and baked them like perfect her first try. That's a hard cookie to make.
That is. My daughter Sydney tried to make macaroons and we took a bite and we were like, no.
Yeah.
Mac and no. So
she was also well known in the neighborhood because she was the babysitter. The babysitter. So we had one family in the neighborhood that had 4 children, and they from age like 8-year-old twins to a 2-year-old, and they asked Kobe to babysit all 4 children.
Wow.
And then we also had a couple in the neighborhood that had twin girls that were about age 2 that they had never left with a babysitter. And then she babysat other children, but she was well known, well loved in the neighborhood. That was her passion, those kids. And she also went to Camp Choye, and she loved Jesus and loved others well.
Yeah,
she loved others well.
She was a bright light in the world. It shone brightly, even though it was just for 15 years.
Yeah, she did a lot.
Share a little bit about what happened the days before Kobe's death, and then as much as you would like about her death.
There's when you look back at things, I see a lot of foreshadowing, and some of the foreshadowing was on that particular weekend. She passed away on a Sunday night, but on Friday night, my husband opened the cabinet to get a glass out for dinner, and the crystal glass fell and shattered, and she was sitting at the kitchen bar, and she looked at my husband and she said, "Daddy, did that glass cut you?" And they got into a 30-minute conversation about glass, and as I'm sweeping and vacuuming it up, which really wouldn't seem significant at the time until you learn of her accident.
At the time, you were probably like,
I was like,
why is not here?
That's exactly. I was like, why are y'all having this conversation? Because Don is very detailed. So he's talking about leaded glass and crystal and all the different types of glass. And then Saturday, I got a phone call from my mother was in assisted living, and they told me that she had hit her head, and she had actually been in her bathroom, and she went forward and her head hit the handicap rail, and she had a big knot, and they were calling me to inform me, and they put ice on it. She was fine. But when I talked to her later, she said that she didn't know what happened. She just kind of passed out and fell forward and hit her head, which sort of is kind of foreshadowing about Kobe. And then Kobe had to babysit on Saturday night. She didn't feel well, and she had about a 99 temperature. And I said, we've got to go babysit because they're expecting you, and, just stay away from the kids. They're older. they'll go to bed, they'll play, they'll go to bed, and you can lay on the couch till the parents get home. And she got home, told me all about her night, and I took her temperature. It was about 100, and she just didn't feel well. And so I said, well, just sleep in our bed because she rests, just comforting.
Did
So
she normally, like, if she was sick,
if
sleep
she
in
was
bed with
sick,
you?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd let her sleep
'Cause
on,
by 15
I know by 15, no, she slept
a
in her
lot of kids
room.
don't. Yeah.
No, but she was very, I don't know, only if she didn't feel well, which really
Sure,
wasn't
yeah.
often. I mean, she slept in her bed with all her loveys and had her little routine. But I just said, why don't you sleep in our bed? And I remember her feet being really cold and her body being really hot. Obviously, she was fighting a fever. Our son had gone to Colorado with fraternity brothers on a ski trip, which we were very nervous about him being on the road, coming home from Colorado. We did not expect him. And he ended up coming home that morning, Sunday morning at 10:30. And he walks in and I said, I didn't think you were going to be home yet. And he said, well, we drove straight through. I just felt like I needed to be home. And that was and so I went and told Kobe and I said, Dawson's home. And she's like, I'm so happy he's home. Like she was so relieved, even though she wasn't feeling well. So the day progresses. She moves to the couch. She FaceTimes with her best friend and they're laughing. And then we're all in the living room watching a movie, which if you have teenagers, that can be unusual if you're all together at the same time. Everyone's always doing something. And Dawson kept saying, I need to leave. It's 5:30. I need to go see my friend. She's going to college. Dawn was saying, I need to leave. I'm going to the gym to sit in the hot tub. During this time, Kobe's on the couch. Mommy, I don't feel right. Her words were really specific. And I said, well, what is your symptom? And she said, well, my throat really hurts. And she took her hand and she did this. I took her temperature again. It was about 101. And I said, I'm going to go email your school. You can't go to school tomorrow, obviously. Daddy will stay home with you. I have to go to work. Why don't you go take a shower? You'll feel better. And then we all entered this conversation. And Dawson said, Kobe, why don't you go take a bath? Because she loved her baths. And it went back and forth. And she finally said, well, I'm going to take a shower. And she looked at me. She said, I need your help, which was odd. She's 15. I'm not in her bedroom I'm never in her bedroom. And so I said, okay, I'll help you. And then she said, but I don't want you to see me. And I said, well, we had a little seat in the little shower in this old 1950s house. I said, well, just sit on the seat and face the tile wall and I won't see you and I can help you, whatever that meant. And so she said, okay. And she jumped off the couch, practically ran down the hall. I followed behind her very quickly, got to her bathroom. I waited outside. It was a beaded curtain. She went to the restroom. She took off her clothes, threw them to me, and looked at herself in the mirror. She opened the shower, didn't turn the water on. She just sat down on the bench inside, but she was facing the door. And the door shut. And then she said, Mommy, I need you. I'm walking toward the glass door. And I said, Kobe, I'm right. And as I was saying the word here, her body bent and her nose hit the glass. And the glass door peaked. And it cut her. And she is still sitting and she leaned her head back like to show me. And then she looked right at me, but it was her spirit looking at my spirit. It was not a physical experience. It was spiritual.
Like
I mean, our eyes were looking at each other, but it was a spiritual contact is the only way it was not human body. It was spiritual. It was on a whole different level. I knew. And I knew in that moment she was communicating with me goodbye and I love you. And she left and I screamed and Dawn and Dawson came running, or Dawn said, is everything okay? He just thought like a mirror fell off the wall. And I said, no. And they came running and Dawson jumped in the shower and Kobe was no longer sitting. She was standing at the back, pretty much like Jesus with her hands at her side and her head tilted and her eyes devoid of life. And he jumped on her and I called 911, laid a blanket down. They started CPR. I call on the phone and the phone clicks, clicks, clicks. And I knew something wasn't right, but I thought, I can't hang up because it's 911 and they'll think
Right.
that it's a prank, or I don't know what I was thinking. And long story short, they do CPR. I'm running around the house, turn the lights on, put the dog outside, unlock the front door. I'm still on the phone thinking they should be here in a minute because we had a
And they
very,
haven't
they're on there. They're on there. I tell her my emergency. I tell her exactly. I use the term, her carotid artery is severed. And she's, she's like, stay on the line, whatever. I figured they'd be there in 2 minutes because we lived in one of the villages where we have our own police department. It took them 12 minutes to get to the house, and which was, in hindsight, it's a blessing, a huge blessing, because during that time, Kobe, her eyes turned blue again, and she looked at Dawson and she looked at Dawn while they're over her, like telling them, like communicating with them, I love you. Thank you for being my heroes. And then they come in and switch out with Dawson and Dawn, and we all go to the kitchen. And it was in the moments in the bathroom, actually, that I was given the gift of this song, this Christian song by Jeremy Camp called Walk by Faith. And Kobe and I had heard it in the car on the way to school, but I never put it on in the house. The
you wouldn't have
lyrics,
recognized it or known it.
but the lyrics, the lyrics played in my head during this horrific scene in the bathroom. And those lyrics lifted me above the situation and gave me the mindset it was like God was holding me in those moments and the song was filling me. And I was able to stay in this moment. And then we go to the kitchen, and Dawson, we all huddled together, and I remember saying, we can either die in this moment, or we can rise above it and we can keep living. Like, I don't even know how I was able to say those words. She is still in the house.
And no one has said she's dead.
No, they don't. They didn't.
But were you feeling that at the time, or you don't really even know?
I knew it. The moment she showed me her injury, I knew that was it, right? But in your humanness, you're like, oh my God, maybe God will perform a miracle, right? Like Lazarus.
Well, and then she opened her eyes again. And
she did. Totally hopeful. But when they carried her, they took her without any of us going in the ambulance, which is really also weird. And our house was filled with every emergency personnel you could think of, from police, firemen, paramedics, everybody. And
are you guys just quiet at this moment? Like, or are you crying?
No, I was quiet. I was having to answer questions. Don was pacing around. He ended up leaving with a paramedic. We don't even know who brought him to the hospital. My neighbor had come over and said, I'm going to drive you to the hospital. But in the moment, I had to find her ID. Like, they wanted her ID, and her her temporary license had just come in the mail. And I knew where it was. So I went and got that. I mean, it was just weird moments. But the Spring Valley police came in, and they said, or the firefighter said, why didn't you call us? And I said, I did call you. And I showed him my phone, and they said, your 911 call was routed to Greater Houston.
Oh, wow.
That's why it took 12 minutes, because it didn't go to our little police department in our 2 minutes around the corner. It went
and there was no explanation for why that happened.
Well, I think it was God. I think it was a gift.
To have that time.
That gave Dawson and Dawn that time.
That moment.
And were they trying to, like, before the 911 people got there, were they
resuscitate her? Yeah. It was a war zone. He was at her neck. Dawson was doing rescue breaths and compressions. I was at her legs. I covered her with the blanket because I remember she said she didn't want anybody to see her. And here she is, naked. I covered her with the blanket. Part of her, but couldn't cover her. I just covered her.
Sure.
Yes.
So they take her to the hospital, and you and Dawn are going separately, and Dawson stayed behind.
Yes.
So
my neighbor. Okay.
Yes, share all of that.
So my neighbor, Larry, says, I'm taking you and Dawson. I'm driving out of the hospital. And Dawson said, no, I'm staying. I'm going to take my own vehicle because we will need a car. I mean, okay. So Dawn's gone. Larry takes me. All the neighbors are rushing at the door. They think they think Dawn is the one that's injured. Of course, no one would ever expect what happened to have happened.
no.
And all I could enunciate, they were like, what can we do? All I could say was just pray. And in fact, I learned later that my neighbor, Lee, right next door, they had all dropped to their knees, she and her family, and just prayed. At the time that Kobi, on the death certificate that they literally pronounced her dead, is the time Haley and her family are praying for her, which it's also connected. But
Right.
Larry takes
And the
us.
reason that's significant to you, I think, because I felt the same way, it was as if they were praying her up to
Yes.
heaven. Like
Yes.
she was accompanied. Like I
Yes.
felt that when Hunter died.
Yeah.
There
The
was a whole
lifting.
group of people praying. Yeah.
Yes. And that was all I could say when I was leaving the house and the cul-de-sac was full of people. And I said, just pray. Those are the only words that would come out of my mouth. And so we're driving. I'm thinking we're at the hospital down the street. So that's yet again 5 minutes away. We're not. We're still in the car driving. And Don calls me. He's like, where are you? I'm trying to fumble my phone. I can't even contact. I'm trying to call the priest, my best friend. I can't even function. Unbeknownst to me, Dawson has posted on Facebook, please fight for my sisters. Please pray. My sister's fighting for her life.
Mm.
I didn't even know that. So by him posting on social media, my best friend ends up at the hospital meeting it, like people that I wasn't able to contact. I didn't know he had done that. He gets in his truck. He drives to the hospital. They gather us in a room. Dawson's not there yet. We are in this room, not with Kobe, and they start to gather us like a bad movie, like a movie where they're going to gather the family and tell them the worst news. And I said, no, don't say anything. Dawson's not here. And they start to tell us, Dawson busts through the doors and he says, she's with Jesus. Tucker came to me. His very close friend Tucker had died August, was killed at Texas Tech in a self-inflicted accident. Dawson gets a vision of Tucker before he comes into this room, tells us Tucker has Kobe, she's with Jesus. And he comes and huddles with us and we all drop. I mean, it was.
I remember when you told me this story, it's so incredible. All of the things that are happening. I can't imagine that you were fully aware of all of these blessings in the moment. Obviously, when he comes running in and says, Tucker's told me he has her, she's with Jesus, like that is.
Yes. I think, I know it sounds crazy, but that song, when those lyrics came in my head.
What were the lyrics? Do you remember them right now?
Oh, gosh. I will walk by faith even when I cannot see. I'd have to look them up real quick.
Yeah.
I felt that song. Well, I knew it was powerful, but I didn't know it would reoccur all the time afterward.
Right. Tell me the name of the song again.
Walk by Faith by Jeremy Camp.
Yeah. Would I believe you when you would say, your hand will guide me every way while I receive the words you say every moment of every day. I will walk by faith even when I cannot see. Well, because the broken road prepares your will for me. Yeah.
And a little prayer I used to say all the time when I brought the kids to school was, let us walk in your way and do your will. Like, before they got out of the car. And that song, you're trying to walk in anyway. No, I mean, Whitney, I think I had the wherewithal, the fact that I had the wherewithal to start writing right away, to me was a gift, another gift of God or the Holy Spirit filling me and like saying, okay, I wanted to document the specifics of everything that had happened up to this point. I mean, there's several things I didn't share all of them, but Kobe had taken photographs of her, selfies, and she looked at me and she said, Mommy, why am I a ghost? She even had a photograph of her face where she had written on the picture typed it somehow, ghost. And I didn't find that till later. But
yeah, it's crazy because the broken glass,
and then
the whole conversation about glass, the whole conversation.
And my mother had hit her head in a bathroom.
Mother hitting the head. And then looking back on the conversation about shower or bath, when you looked back at that, what did that bring you?
Well, I mean, Dawn says if she would have taken a bath, she probably would have drowned. I think what gets me through this is knowing my belief system is we don't know when we're going to be born, and we don't know when our time on earth is up. And so if that is my belief, then perhaps Kobe's time was up and she was going to exit this world one way or another. She just happened to take this route.
Well, I think it would bring some comfort too, because it wasn't like everybody was like, go take a shower. There was actually a conversation where Kobe says, I want to take a shower.
Yes. Ownership.
Did you feel any guilt? I know a lot of parents may feel some guilt, even though there was nothing that could have been done.
Right. With our situation, I'm so grateful that Dawson didn't leave at 5:30 to go see his friend, and that Dawn did not leave to go to the gym, because if I had been alone in this scenario, there would have been a lot of unknowns, like, how did this happen? They wouldn't have, we were all part of it, so there was really no blame. You couldn't say, oh my gosh, you didn't do, how did this happen? We were kind of all part of it, which I really think was a gift. Is a gift. We were all there. We were all present. There was really no blame and no guilt. I mean, if speaking for Don, I think he's expressed that he felt like, why didn't we know that was glass and not, why didn't we think to replace that? It was an old house.
Those things. I've never heard of anyone else dying in that way.
Yeah. I mean, and my mother, that was her shower. She had, leaned into it accidentally, and the door never broke. I mean, it was a very unusual circumstance, to say the least. The water wasn't on. And of course, the news reported, the CDC picked up this story right away, blasted it on the CDC, and said in Europe that she was a victim of the flu. They said that like the next night. And then they made it up. They made it up. I mean, there was no documentation. She did not have the flu. She had a fever. She had a fever.
What happened at the hospital?
At the hospital, we never saw her in an emergent. At the hospital, they announced this to her. We had a big discussion. They announced that she has passed. We have a discussion about organ donation, which in that moment, it's really hard to think. And then they took us to this room where she was. And it was just, they had a blanket over her with this little poem.
A poem?
Yes. A little stuffed animal in this poem. And they had a device in her mouth that her neck was wrapped. They had a device because they had tried to breathe. And we were like, can't you take that out? Like we're trying to hug her, be with her. They wouldn't let us remove that. I think they sent in a nurse and a social worker and my best friend and her daughters, who were like Kobe's very close friends, and Kobe's godfather, and whoever wanted to come in the room, because some people had seen Dawson's message, or Dawn had been able to text them and told them the scenario that Kobe was in the hospital. I don't know what he told them, but some people, Dawn's sister, my sister-in-law, I believe, was also in that room. And they asked me if I wanted to do something special with her, like make something. And of course, in that moment, I didn't know what she's talking about.
An handprint or something?
Yes. That's what it was. So I said, well, Kobe was an artist. And her favorite color is blue. And so this lady, she quickly gets paint. She goes, okay, well, we can, if you feel comfortable, I can help you paint her hand, whatever. So
you're painting her hand.
I'm painting her hand.
Where are you mentally at this stage? I would be like, this would be one of those
bizarre. They're doing that in the hospital.
Well,
I mean,
I don't know how this works. It was my first rodeo. And Dawson is trying to comfort Dawn. I handed my phone to my girlfriend and said, I want you to take pictures and document this.
Oh, wow.
And I paint Kobe's hand blue, press it, and make several blank canvases. Then I asked Dawson if he wanted to paint one with me. His favorite color is green, so he painted half green and half blue on her hand and made a print, which, of course, we haven't looked at. Those are like in a box since that day.
You never did anything with them?
No. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, how do
And
you feel about it now? Are you like, "That's a great thing," or are you like, "What the fuck?"
yeah, I'm glad I have it because she was an artist. In fact, when they asked us if we would donate her organs, we had a family discussion and Dawson said, no, not her arms and her hands because she was an artist, and not her eyes. He was very adamant. And it ends up in the long term that they weren't able to harvest
I hate that
maybe,
word.
yeah, maybe not even tissue. Like they weren't able to take anything. So no, because it'd been too long. I think the time, because they were really like, okay, do you want to, do an organ donation? I'm like, my daughter, you're just telling me she has died and now I've got to think like that. And then, I wanted to say something else. So I handed my girlfriend my phone. She is documenting taking these pictures. I had us put our hands on Kobe, my hand, Kobe hand, Dawson, Dawn. One of the pictures, radiates a lot of brightness and so that I'm thinking, okay. I mean, I didn't know that at the time.
What you mean the actual photo
It's real
lighter?
Yeah. But then the next one is normal. So then I got but I didn't know that at the time. I get my phone back and I looked at the nurse and I said, and I don't know why I said this. But I said, can I look at her feet? And the nurse is like, well, sure. So I said, Dawson, come down and come down to Kobe's feet with me. So I take the blanket off her feet, and on the top of each foot, like in the same spot, is a mark, which in my opinion is like my mark of Jesus. I mean, it's
right. The nail.
It's very,
Oh, wow.
it's very. I grew up Catholic, so the stigmata. St. Francis had the stigmata, and St. Pio is a Franciscan monk, an Italian who.
And Dawson saw this as well.
He saw this. I took pictures because I had gotten my phone back, and so I took a picture of each foot, and I looked at the nurse, and I said, "What's on her feet?" And the nurse said, well, I don't know. Then someone else came and looked, and they're like, "Oh, we don't know." But I knew, and so that kind of prompted me to have an autopsy because I wanted to see what the experts would say. I also wanted to know, did she have some congenital condition that caused this accident, or what happened? Why did this happen? But when the autopsy came back, it just gives an illustration saying that she had a 5-inch cut and a 2-inch cut, like very specific and life taking, and a little mark, a little cut. And then when I got to the feet, it described those 2 marks as lacerations, which in my definition of laceration is a cut, but
right.
They're not cuts. 2 weeks later, Dawson's friend that passed away, Tucker, his daddy made an appointment for my family to go to Dr. Ron Swatzinga, is a brain scientist, a specialist in Houston. And he had arranged for us to go meet with him. And when we got to his appointment, well, because of the trauma.
Yeah. Okay.
He's a trauma specialist.
Okay.
On top of all these credentials.
Okay.
But he's a brain researcher. So he studies the brain and trauma, how to heal. And we got there and he looked at us and he talked about PTSD. And he said Dawn would probably be the one that would have the most PTSD just from his cortisol, his reaction.
Tests.
No, he didn't run any tests on us. He could just, in our conversation, I think he could just feel it. Pick up on it.
Yeah.
And then he said during the trauma that your hippocampus, the signals reaching the hippocampus kind of break away. So Kobe, he was a medical professional, but very spiritual. And he said, Kobe is here. She's here in this room with us. She's just at a higher frequency. And in order to heal your brains from this trauma, he said, there are 3 specific things that bring your body to this frequency so that you can meet her, so that you can heal, so the hippocampus can communicate. And it was to walk in nature, to be around water, and to watch a fire, like a campfire or, fire pit. But think about a fire, the waves, the flames, all 3 of those raise your frequency. Those 3 things are higher frequency.
So you immediately went out into nature, started a fire, and got by the water.
Well, what's interesting is Dawson had been going over to Tucker's house after he died and building in the fire pit, building a fire and sitting with his daddy. Those are very powerful for you girls to share with everybody.
You're sharing it right now, honey.
Yeah. You know, he was very adamant about frequencies and that, you know, grief is a very heavy frequency. Sadness is like way low. So if you remain down here, the harder it is for you to lift for the joy, right? And to feel spiritual presence. But I really think that, yeah, we all grieve differently, as you know. And for me, I would walk and pray and write and cry and tell my story over and over and over. You know, Dawn grieved differently than I grieved. Dawson grieved differently from, you know, we were all individualistic in our grief. Now we did not we didn't go to counseling. We met with that man 2 hours, go. And I feel like he gave us everything we needed.
So he didn't scan your brains or anything.
Oh, no.
He just talked with you
We
guys.
just sat with him for 2 hours and
I want to meet him.
oh, he's
What was his name again?
fantastic. Ron Swatzinger.
Swatzinger.
I'd have to
Ron
spell it.
Swatzinger.
Yeah. What he taught us is so powerful with it's been helpful for me, right? What were you going to say, Holly?
I don't think you ever said, how long has it been?
Oh, 10 years. It was January 11th of 2015. So it was, to me, the numbers are really specific, and it was 11115. And it's weird. 111.
So those are two. Those are two opening.
It's like angel
11
sign.
is door. Like 11 is a significant number. So 1111. When did Kobi start showing herself? Like how long before you started getting signs from Kobi? You knew that were signs.
Yeah. Well, she died January 11th. Dawn and I took a trip to Hawaii in March, and the entire Hawaii trip was a spiritual journey only God could orchestrate, and everything was punctuated by the color blue. Even Whitney, when you and I first met in Austin, you had I took a picture. You had blue tennis shoes on, blue fingernail polish, and I took a picture of it.
I remember we were like in a coffee shop or something, and music was playing, and I was like, Hunter talks.
That was Hunter.
Blue pants. Look what I'm wearing. Guess what? These blue pants I bought like 4 months ago. They've been sitting in my closet with the tag on them. I am getting chills. And today I was like, I'm going to the dermatologist. I'm putting on these pants. I don't know why. Kobi. I remember when we first got together that first time, because what's so crazy is you and I lost touch for a long time. I mean, I only taught at that school for 1 year and then moved to London. And there wasn't Facebook or anything. And I didn't connect with you until 2 years before Hunter died. And I guess 2 years. Well, let's see.
When was Hunter?
I'm terrible at math. Hunter died in 2017. And I think we became friends. And we became friends on Facebook. I looked it up today. 2016.
Oh my gosh.
2016. So Kobi had been dead for a year and Hunter was alive for 1 more year. And when I reconnected with you on Facebook, you weren't saying my daughter's dead or anything, but you were saying things because it had been a year, but you would say things that I reached out to our mutual friend, Kathy, who also taught with us. And I was like, what's happened to her daughter? Like, what's going on? I didn't know. And then Kathy shared with me what happened. I was watching you just filling yourself with inspiring things. And I guess truly creating that high vibration that you needed in order to communicate with Kobi and feel God's love around you. Because we all know when you're in that kind of grief, many people are so angry. And somebody like what happened to you, you could have gone to anger or the trauma of it, never getting out of bed again.
Or just stayed in the dark side instead of, but even from the beginning, we laughed. I mean, Dawn makes us laugh every single day, but we were able to laugh and cry. I mean, I'm not saying we're just laughing, but a lot of people feel guilty that, oh my gosh, I can't laugh. I just, lost my spouse or my daughter, or my son, or, we're not allowed to laugh, but we laughed. You asked me, hang on, you asked me when did Kobe communicate?
Yeah, when did you start
I mean,
feeling her?
well, we'd had this whole Hawaii trip. So I told you I've been writing. I have that could be a book in itself. So I won't go into all that. Hawaii every day was significant, a significant
Was Dawn also
connection.
getting it?
Yes. Okay, here's one example. Here's one example.
I can't believe I'm wearing blue pants, by the way.
I go to the park because they had lots of parades in Hawaii, and we are in Oahu. I go to the park. I want to know what time the parade is. I see a lady. She looks Hawaiian with her family. They got their blanket out. I mean, she wasn't a tourist.
Yeah.
And so I went up to her and I said, could you tell me what time, hi, could you tell me what time the parade is? And she looks at me and she says, are you my Texas sister? I had on a denim hat with a pink longhorn. So it wasn't like bright orange. I mean, I wasn't in the traditional orange. And she said, are you my Texas sister? And I was like, yeah, I'm your Texas sister. She's writing something. She has something on her lap and her grandson is with her. And she looks at me and she goes, why are you here on vacation? I said, no, we lost our daughter. It's pretty much a spiritual journey. And she says, what's your name? What's your daughter's name? I'm putting them in my book. I'm putting you in my book. She's working on her genealogy. Here's this Hawaiian lady. Her name is Zaina. And Zaina tells me in this moment, she writes my name, she writes Kobe's name, and she says, Stephanie, I lost a daughter too, but God gave me 5 more. I named them all with a Z. And so she's flipping her book and she flips to this picture. She goes, look, I got to show you the picture because this just
blew your mind.
It did blow my mind. And after this encounter, we stayed friends. She would write me letters. I would call her when I was grieving and bawling in the park when I was walking. And this woman who was a complete, we just had this deep connection.
Well, it's not, it was
she
God,
would
she was placed in your path from, Kobe and God did that for you.
Most definitely. Let me show you this picture because it's really crazy. Okay, here's this picture. Let's see.
They're all wearing blue dresses.
Oh my gosh.
And that's Kobe. That's Kobe blue. That's like
that's a specific blue.
And I looked at Zane. I said that's Kobe's color anyway. This is the moment I met her and her grandson. Oh. And she has this book right here and she is writing. She has written our names and I had given her a hug coupon that our good friend Tina had made because Dawn made it a habit for us to tell our children or say, I love you anytime, not just when you're leaving the house, just use it abundantly and to hug each other. And so our girlfriend Tina on Kobe's 16th birthday in the cul-de-sac in Houston, 2 months after she passed away, she hands us this box and it's full of all these little hug coupons and that say, in honor of Kobe Isabella Pickett, keep on being incredible, spread the love, whatever, hug.
Yeah.
And so I took a whole stack of them on our trip to Hawaii, just thinking, I don't know. And then that led to so many connections.
Was Dawson also in Hawaii? Did the whole family go or was it just you and Dawn?
In fact, those are probably the times when I was not a good parent. Dawson was 19 and he was living at U of H and we were all, he came home.
Better question. Did the rest of your family find comfort the way that you did? Were they getting messages? Were they feeling?
Oh, I was going to tell you about the message. Dawson, it was difficult for him to mention Kobe. His fraternity brothers and his close friends were his support. He also poured himself into selling. He Cutco knives. He was right away. He was top salesman and he poured himself into that activity. And then he took a trip out west and was gone for 94 days maybe, camping and staying at youth hostels and hiking and climbing Ainers and solo. And that trip, he didn't do it right away. He did it in, I think, 2017. And that landed him in Colorado after what he did. And that's where he's made his life.
But would you say that all of you are healed isn't the right word because we never truly heal.
No, but I think we're able to, and Don and I were just talking about, I mean, it's 10 years later, but I think we finally both, the two of us, feel like we're up for air, like able to,
The heaviness is there.
there's more lightness than heaviness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but even so, yesterday, well, even so yesterday or day before, we can always express to each other, oh, I just had a Kobe moment, or I just had a bad.
So they're as open to it as you are. And I mean, Dawson has to be because he saw his dead friend telling him,
Yeah.
I've got her.
Yeah. But we don't have long conversations about it with Dawson right now. We can talk about it. We can talk about her, but that's the focus is not that. The focus, he's married and he doesn't want to. That's a bad. Yeah, that's a dark time period. Obviously, like losing your sibling is.
And it sounds like his mom for a time.
Totally. Both of us. I mean, we didn't, we left on to Hawaii. We were gone 17 days. It's like, yeah, it was an interesting time, but we're here today. And
it sounds like you and Dawn have a very strong relationship.
I mean,
I feel like that could be hard on a.
Yeah. Lots of marriages don't last after the death of a child.
You definitely hear that.
What would you say? So obviously I've thought about you so much and wanted you on even more after the flooding in the hill country and the precious lives that were lost there. What advice or just information, what would you say to, and I'm sure you've had conversations already with
I
I
haven't with any of those moms.
No.
Oh, yeah.
In the last 10 years, I'm sure you've met other people.
Oh, definitely. I think that, in the beginning this is a good analogy Dawn and I used to use all the time, that we were just covered under a pile of bricks. And maybe other people have written that, just covered under bricks. We tell everyone, you just have every day, maybe one step forward, 2 steps back, but you take a baby step and you remember to breathe, and self-care is so important. But I think it was through prayer of ourselves, prayer from others, that just starting to see all the synchronicities, which there's no coincidences, all the signs give us hope. And fortunately, we were open to that hope in the beginning. And I think I read an article about some of those moms that it sounds like they already are in tune with that.
Yeah,
I read something.
Yeah, we posted it on our Instagram page. The signs that they're getting, the ladybugs.
Yes, and maybe that's where I read it. And I would get ladybugs all the time.
Photos of when they dropped their daughters off.
Yes.
Things.
Yes.
That's what's crazy. And I'm sure a lot of people listening may be thinking, well, I didn't get any, I don't get any signs, or I didn't have any blessings, or I didn't get any, premonitions or whatever we call them, because I had the same thing happening. Like Hunter and I got that beautiful day together the day before he went unconscious, and we had a conversation 2 weeks before that about I'd had a dream that he died, and so we had this whole conversation about how much I love him and how I couldn't go on without him. I got to say so many things that I wouldn't have been able to say had I not had that dream. Do you believe that everybody, why are we getting signs and blessings and maybe other people are saying they're not? What would you say about that?
I search. I know I was always searching for Kobe. Always. And I feel like, and I was open to that. And maybe with having an open heart to that, knowing that, I think meeting with that doctor and hearing, she's just at a higher frequency. She's not gone. She's, when even in the Bible, out of the body, dead in the body, but you're alive in spirit. Look at Jesus, right? Jesus died. He was behind a tomb. He rose again. People feel that love in their hearts, but we don't physically see him walking around, right? But I really think it's by faith. It's the whole walk by faith. I think being open to knowing, it's like a knowing. Another thing, when Dawn and I first moved, we met a woman who was 10 years out of losing a child, and she was very angry, 10 years. And I remember meeting her and thinking, I remember he and I had a conversation like, oh my gosh, here we are a year out, and that's what we have to look forward to. It's like we were better.
It.
We had already passed it. So it's just being open. I mean, Kobe, she came, you could call it crazy, but it's true. The can lights flickered. I mean, I have video of unusual things.
Yeah, no, my bathroom light, once I moved into this house, it flickers all the time. And I'm just like, hey, Hunter.
Hey, Hunter. Yeah, you recognize them.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I try to recognize.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the song comes on, that song, Walk by Faith, would come on my phone or come on my computer, or I could be out in a public place, Costco or something, and the music would turn. I went to yoga outside of my first day there, and we do the yoga without any music outside. And when the place opens and yoga is over, they turn the music on. And the first song they turn on, it wasn't Walk by Faith, but it was a song that she has made a video to. I called a Kobi song. And I thought, okay, she's here. To me, it's validation. Like, I'll just keep stepping forward.
Yeah.
What else can I do? I miss her. My heart, our lives, as you know, never be the same. Never be that same person. Never be that same family unit. But she's with us. She's present somehow.
Yeah. So you still do get, and what do we say, Holly? What's our motto?
Less deep, less dark, less often.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that. Less deep, less dark, less often. That's exactly.
So it doesn't mean that you don't still have moments. And especially, how was Dawson's wedding? Was that hard for you?
You know what? It was full of joy. We did not focus our minds on that, but his best man, Patrick, who also knew Tucker, when he got up to say his speech, he acknowledged the presence of both of them, saying that because everyone in the room pretty much knew Tucker and knew Kobi, and he made reference to that, and it was really a beautiful gesture that he did that. But that was really, we didn't focus on that. It's the evening was
it does.
great.
I mean, you don't want to bring no,
that way it wasn't about that. No.
Right.
And an interesting tidbit of that is Tucker's daddy came to the wedding. The wedding was in Colorado. I did not know Gordon would be there. We're in the big reception area. Don had gotten up. Everyone is starting to sit down for the speeches. Don was still standing in the back of the room to go say hi to Gordon. So these two dads were standing. Patrick got up to the mic to start his speech. Everyone else is sitting. They hadn't made it back. They were finishing their encounter. And then Patrick honored both of our daughter and Tucker. I thought it was so just kind of another nod to hear these two dads are together in that moment, all the way in Colorado.
Right.
I mean, it was, they could have been separated at their tables like everyone else was, but they were, so that was powerful to me. Not everyone, but you girls are doing such good.
I admire your faith, and from the minute it happened, moving forward, because I was very angry with God, and then it took time. So I really admire that of you, and that you're so open to all the signs and feeling her around you.
It gives me joy. It keeps me alive. It gives me something to hold on to.
What is Kobi's? Somebody came up with is it an anagram?
No, it's now you made
what
me
is it
forget.
called?
Larry.
Anacrum? Anacracum?
What's it called? Oh, now Whitney, I can't say it.
Acronym.
Yeah.
Woo!
Okay,
Oh
it
my
is.
God.
So Larry, our good friend that did Kobi's eulogy, he ended it with saying, "Keep on being incredible." So he took a KOBI and made it "Keep on being incredible." And I think that's when I have the hug.
Love that.
I need to have the hug cards redone, and I'm gonna put that on the back of them with the Bible verse. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, because that was a verse significant to me and significant to her. And elephants were significant to her so many things. I looked up at the cloud the other morning on my way to yoga, and there's clear as day an elephant. I put it on my Facebook. I don't know if you saw it. Yeah.
It makes this life way more magical.
Yes.
If you can be open to what our loved ones are trying to share with us, and hate and sadness and grief and anger. Yeah, well, hate is a different.
But that's dark. It's low energy. That's a low energy.
Because
they want us. They
And
want
they
us
want
to
us to
keep
be on that.
living because that even though you have all these questions in your head, you're not going to have them when it's our time. You're not going to have a question. You're just going to be happy, right? There's no sadness in heaven or in the spirit world. There's no
Right.
sadness.
Well, I read something recently that said, think that you're worried that our loved ones are missing us. They don't miss us. They're not sad because they have never left us. They
Right.
are very present in our lives.
Right.
So there's no reason and they understand on a spiritual level that time is nothing. They will be reunited on a spiritual level with us in an instant.
Right. But in our humanness, like you want Hunter here, living
And I kind
experience.
of want him to miss me. I'm like, what? I want you to be sad. Yeah, a little bit, just a tiny bit.
But that is a total human emotion. And I think that's also helpful is to look, you got to pull yourself into a more spiritual state of mind. At least I do. I did, or I still do. But I think another important thing in the beginning of grief is our social circle. You close yourself in because grief requires so much energy that you don't have time for anyone else's negativity or drama or anything. I'm sure you've both experienced that. I feel that too. I told that to the mom today.
Yeah, especially like with the politics and everything that's going on. I have to shut all that off because I'm still healing. I'm not whole by any
I'm not
means.
either.
Yeah. I don't want that heaviness.
Right.
It keeps me from God, from Hunter, from feeling joyful and hopeful.
Right. Yeah. So
Speaking of like things like that, you and I, every time we get together, we will share books that we've been reading. Or
no, I'm reading one right now called it's called Into the Light. It's pretty much near-death experiences. It's written by a doctor who now does hospice work, and he documents hospice patients of all ages and their a friend in Houston gave it to me recently. Inspired to me.
I've read Embraced by the Light.
I've read
we've talked about it.
We've talked about that. I read it when I was like 13.
Yeah.
I feel like
but
my way was being prepared.
That's exactly how I felt. And I was just about to say that with you. Looking back on your spiritual journey, right? You have been prepared. Not everybody can take the amount of grief that you had to experience in the traumatic way that you had to experience it and can get their head above water, honestly, the day of, in a way. Not that it stayed there, but to have the awareness, that takes a journey in itself.
I just give it to God because it was definitely I feel like when people said, what can we do? And I said, just pray. I really feel it. All those communal prayers, they're so powerful. And it literally carried us, and then people carried us by giving us food and loving on us. But it's the prayers it's that spiritual. I am no superhuman, nothing. I'm just me, a normal mom who had to go through a horrific experience. And, that awful, no one wants to live through experience ever. Who wants to live through that? Nobody. I mean, who wants to go through it? And so, you rise above it or you
drowned.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of us are drowning here today. Not today.
Not today. Not going down today.
Yeah. I am still like, I cannot believe, and I didn't even realize that. Holly had to point it out. I forgot that I was wearing these blue pants and they had the tag on them. They've been sitting in my closet for months. And all I was doing was going to the dermatologist and I was like, I'm wearing these pants today. So
Hunter,
thank
that's
you,
Hunter and
Kobe, for
Kobe.
that. 100%.
But, just
It's a blessing.
grateful. I think
Yeah.
also being grateful, even though in the midst of it, you're miserable. But somehow, gratefulness leads to godliness. Like when you're grateful, I don't know.
You started it the same day, same way that I did. The day we're in the hospital and I start thinking, I'm so glad he didn't die at home. I'm so glad
Yeah.
it didn't happen in a hotel room. You were like, I'm
Yeah.
actually glad that the EMTs did show up
Right.
in 2 minutes. We were given
Extra
a
time.
moment. Yeah, that's crazy that would be a blessing for you right away, whereas most people would be like, they weren't here.
Right. But I knew, they couldn't have done. Nobody could have saved her. It was a done deal.
Yeah,
You
the
would
blood was lost,
Yeah.
but they'd
Yeah, but that's also an interesting thing about life and death, that her spirit left in that instant. Like her body wasn't dead. Her
right.
life,
You
her
saw,
life
yeah.
force. She had a radial pulse from Dawson and Dawn doing the CPR. They did not pronounce her at home for one reason is that I learned later is then that creates a whole different ball
If she
game
dies at home, then you
Mhm.
there's a
with something like that. It's investigation.
Yeah.
So they pronounced her, I guess probably right when she arrived, or maybe when she got into the ambulance. I don't really know when they pronounced her. They just didn't do it at home.
Oh,
And
that's interesting.
yeah, and then what was it? Oh, but like when you think about, and I've read a lot about this, when you think, oh my gosh, someone was in a horrific accident. I hope they didn't suffer. She didn't suffer. She was like, I'm out of here. I'm done. Literally, there was no time for her to suffer.
She
The
looked at you
accident happened. She showed me. She looked at me.
and she's gone.
She's gone.
All in.
And that is the gift. Although I know that the visual is
rough.
horrible and traumatic, and close your eyes and you're right back there.
Yeah.
But it was a gift because you saw with your own eyes that her soul left and there was no suffering.
But I
don't think God
read that.
wants us. Yeah,
I read
think
that
the
about
soul,
other scenarios.
I've read that too. The soul gets to decide.
Yes.
And there's no reason to stick around for all of the horrificness. Like,
Right.
the body can be there, but the soul is gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I find comfort in that. Yeah.
And she was met with open arms.
Totally.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
So crazy, y'all. I could keep.
And I know you're like this too, Stephanie. Like, as horrible as it is, it's so energizing to talk about the gifts in the
Yes.
trauma.
Yes, it is. And that's why I
Because
share it.
Yeah, it just makes me go, there's more here. There's more happening that we don't understand. And it's so, for lack of a better word, magical.
That's
And
a good
again,
word.
the fact that I'm fucking wearing blue pants, I can't get over it.
I also find when I share stories, like the Hawaii story, that was just one snippet, but other people, they get goosebumps, or they're like, they can't understand, they can't believe, like these instances of God, or however you want to explain it. It's very, I think it gives other people, I think it shares light.
Tangible. It makes it more tangible.
Tangible.
If you just say, oh, I saw an elephant in the sky.
Right.
People may be like, okay, well, was it an elephant or is that just what you wanted to see? But when somebody, runs through the door saying, Tucker has already told me she's with God, or the Hawaiian lady, randomly you see her, she's got a genealogy book with a bunch of pictures, and then there's the
blue.
Kobe blue. Even the intangible of like those words of that song came in the
moment,
the darkest moment of your entire life.
My entire life.
Forever. I'm pretty can say
I'm
that
pretty
that
sure
would
forever.
be the darkest. Yeah. And you're given that gift of those words of a song that you didn't even really know.
Right.
And that you remember all that happening.
Yeah. And like I told you, I wrote down because I didn't want to forget, because over time your memory, it gets to maybe make things seem different, or you retell it a different way. And I wanted to know. I wanted to have evidence, or I wanted to remember.
And it's just nice to interact with other grieving people and give them some hope. So that's what you're doing today.
Okay, so I did have another question. I don't know if it's appropriate, but I wondered how long did y'all stay in the house? How was it
Yeah, was that
did it
hard?
happen in her bathroom? Like,
Yes, that's a good question. It happened in her bathroom. And for a while, I shut the door to her. My best friend cleaned up the bathroom that night
Wow.
with her daughters and our other friend.
oh
Don't know
gosh.
how they did that, but they did.
Mhm.
We came home to our house that night, and yes, we stayed in our house. I shut her door for
Yeah,
I
how
don't
do you
know.
go back to
I
the
shut her
house
door
after?
because I just couldn't. It made me so sad. So I shut her door, and then I kept thinking, oh, I should have left her door open because our dog missed her so much,
Oh,
and he couldn't go in there. And then I
Oh,
started opening her door. Then I ceremoniously went into her bathroom, which was clean. I mean,
mhm.
and left a
by
prayer.
yourself?
Well, with my cousin, left a prayer in her bathroom, and then I was okay with, like, I'd go lay on her bed, or Dawn would go lay on her bed, and we would, separately, whatever, just cry. Me and her surrounded by her stuff. So we stayed in that house um until January of 17. So almost, that's 2 years,
Mhm.
right?
What'd you do with her clothes, like the clothes that she gave you? Like, I
I
feel like you hung on to some
This
stuff or
is
didn't
this
want.
is her shirt.
Oh,
Oh.
I Yes, I gave a lot of her clothes to my great niece because at the time they fit her. So I gave a lot of clothes to her and other things that Kobe had. And then I saved everything. I saved a lot of things that fit me because her cowboy boots, and
oh
I mean,
yeah.
we were the same size. So I saved a lot of her stuff. I let her girlfriends, a couple of her girlfriends came over after a while, and I let them get stuff out of the closet, if they wanted a
Mhm.
certain shirt out of the closet. Then a lot of Kobe's stuff I still have in clear tubs that I
Mhm.
moved with us when I packed up her room. Um,
How was moving? Because you said in a way
um,
you want to leave the house.
we were ready at that time. We were good with. I mean,
Well, you
the
by
whole
now
move
you've
was a
been
whole God
feeling
thing.
her. Yeah.
That's a whole nother story. Everyone was like, how can y'all still be in that house? Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people asked us those questions, and in a weird way, it was comforting. It was our house. I mean, it was comforting
Yeah.
because that was our house.
Those were all
Those
the
were our
memories.
memories.
Right.
But then you realize that the soul is
Yeah.
transferable to
Yeah.
it.
Transferable to a new
Yeah,
location.
it
It's
transports anywhere.
portable.
It's
Yes.
portable. That's
The
the word.
soul is going with you. You know that because you moved to another house.
Yeah, yeah. We'd only been in Austin for 3 months, so he was only living in that house for 3 months, which is funny because he was like, "This is our house. This is our forever house." And then later I'm like, "You meant for you, jerk."
He's like,
But
Too far.
Whitney,
yeah,
get on that budget. That's what he's saying.
yeah, 100%. Yes, he's still telling me to do that.
I think that's a totally good question. But, maybe some people would have moved right away. I don't.
Everybody handles it
Yeah.
differently. I do think that it's helpful if you're feeling her presence, if you're getting signs and you feel like you're getting communication from them, then it's not so hard
Yeah.
to stay or to go. I mean, either way,
Either
like
way. Right.
you're getting comfort
Yes. Comfort.
and so you can handle whatever the
Yeah.
situation is better, I think.
I
I remember
totally.
I mean, it's totally different. I think spouse,
Well,
child is totally different, but I wanted to be home, and I wanted, like, which is kind of interesting because I would just tell everyone to come to my house.
Yeah.
And when Toby was alive, I'd be like, well, let's not combine our friends. Let's, like, that's too many people. But
uh,
then after he died, I would just
Everybody.
invite everybody over. But I wanted to be home.
right.
Yeah.
because I felt close to him.
Yes, I
So
felt close to her. It
We'd only been in Austin for 3 months, so he was only living in that house for 3 months, which is funny because he was like, "This is our house. This is our forever house." And then later I'm like, "You meant for you, jerk."
he's like,
But
Whitney,
yeah,
get on that budget. That's what he's saying.
yeah, 100%. Yes, he's still telling me to do that.
I think that's a totally good question. But maybe some people would have moved right away. I don't know.
Everybody handles it
Yeah.
differently. I do think that it's helpful if you're feeling her presence, if you're getting signs and you feel like you're getting communication from them, then it's not so hard
Yeah.
to stay or to go. I mean, either way,
Either
like
way, right.
you're getting comfort,
Yes, comfort.
and so you can handle whatever the
Yeah.
situation is better, I think.
I
I
totally.
remember it's totally different. I think spouse,
Well,
child is totally different. But I wanted to be home, and I wanted it was kind of interesting because I would just tell everyone to come to my house.
Yeah.
And when Toby was alive, I'd be like, well, let's not combine our friends. Let's, that's too many people. But then after he died, I would just
Everybody.
invite everybody over. But I wanted to be home
right.
Yeah.
because I felt close to him.
Yes, I
So
felt close to her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie.
Thank you for having me.
I'm
thank you
so
so
grateful
much.
for you.
It's nice to meet you.
You
and
nice to
sorry
meet
for-
you.